Today we're making glace de volaille. It's like meaty caramel that makes all pan sauces and soups simply amazing. The idea here is very simple. You make stock out of roasted chicken, then strain, degrease, and reduce it. We have done this on my channel many times. We made it on the stovetop and we made it in the Instant Pot, but in all those videos, I've always used store-bought unsalted rotisserie chickens in an effort to save you some time and dirty dishes. And today we'll finally do it from scratch. If you don't plan to cut up and roast your own chicken, you might still find this video helpful since I came up with a more efficient way to degrease and reduce the stock. I already have a video for how to cut up a chicken, but here is the gist. For the stock, you'll need the legs cut up into thighs and drumsticks, the wings cut up into flat parts and the drumettes, and the chicken backs. Save the breast for your dinner since it doesn't have much collagen. If you need help with cutting up a chicken or roasting the chicken breasts, look for the link below the video. If you don't want to cut up your own chickens, 8 chicken legs can replace 2 chickens that I'm using for my stock. If you can cut those legs into thighs and drumsticks, it will help with the gelatin extraction a little, but that's not absolutely necessary. There are 2 types of stock, blond and brown. Blond is made out of raw chicken and it's very chickeny. Great for chicken noodle soup or making a pan sauce after cooking chicken. Brown is made out of roast chicken and its flavor is much more complex. The chemical reaction responsible for this miraculous transformation is called Maillard. The best explanation that I found of it on YouTube was done by Minute Food. Have you ever wondered why you need to set your oven to the whopping 450 degrees for a reaction that happens between 285 and 355? That's because meat is mostly water. And it takes a crazy amount of energy to evaporate enough of it so that it stops sweating and cooling off the meat. If you like food science, Minute Food is incredible. Even when I think I know the topic, like what freezing does to fish, I still learn something eye-opening. So back to that Maillard reaction. Just remember that water is Voldemort. It's really evil. We need a ton of heat and we need to dry the chicken very thoroughly. Of course, the problem with 450 degrees is smoke. Roasting chicken routinely sets off people's smoke alarms, but I have a solution for that. Make a bed of veggies for your chicken. They'll absorb the dripping fat and cool off the baking sheet. The chicken skin will still brown, but the fat won't smoke. I can't give you measurements for the veggies because all carrots, celery sticks and onions are different. But today I'll use 2 medium yellow onions, 4 huge celery sticks and 2 huge carrots. You can use any ratio of veggies as long as you have enough to fill an 18 by 13 baking sheet in a single layer. Cut the veggies into big chunks, any way you want, and lay out on the baking sheet. Then toss them with a minuscule amount of neutral oil that you use for high heat cooking, like grapeseed or sunflower. Since the chicken will render a ton of fat, go easy on the oil. We need just enough so that the veggies won't stick, but it's definitely not my typical glug of oil I give my roasted veggies. Dry the chicken very thoroughly and place it skin side up on top of the veggies. No salt is intentional. It will allow me to reduce the stock as much as I want to without worrying about it becoming too salty. If your chickens came with necks, stock is a great way to use it. Coat your hands with some neutral oil and rub all over the chicken skin. Place the baking sheet in the upper third of the oven and turn on the convection fan if you have it. With the fan, it took me 35 minutes to get the skin very crispy and golden. Without the fan, it might take 45 to 50 minutes. You do not need the chicken to be dark brown. This is plenty. This chicken is so crispy, I can never resist the urge to salt one edge and take a bite. But try not to eat it all. We're making stock, remember? Dump all the chicken and veggies into an 8-quart pot. Pour enough boiling water into the pan to loosen the brown bits and let it sit for a couple of minutes. Scrape up everything you can and pour into the pot. You might need to get into the corners with a little spoon. By the way, this is just the kind of dish where a well-seasoned baking sheet really helps. If yours is shiny and new looking, the link for how to season it is in the description below. Add 5 quarts of water. No need to measure, you just need enough to cover the chicken by a couple of inches. Set the pot over high heat. Cover and bring almost to a boil. Watch it carefully when you get close so that it doesn't boil over. Uncover. Reduce heat enough to maintain the gentlest simmer. Tiny lazy bubbles, nothing vigorous. If it's not too inconvenient, give it a stir after a couple of hours so that the chicken that was poking out gets a chance to be in the water. Simmer for 4 to 6 hours depending on what's convenient for you. A longer simmer will extract a bit more gelatin, but at 4 hours you'll have a great stock. Roughly 1 hour before the end of cooking time, I like to add a handful of thyme, a couple of bay leaves, a teaspoon of whole black peppercorns and a handful of parsley. But if it's more convenient, you can add them right at the beginning. Alternatively, you can cook all this stuff in a pressure cooker for 2 hours with a natural release. When your stock is done, ladle it through a fine mesh sieve into a 4-quart pot. Pouring always sounds faster until you splatter the sticky stock all over your counter or stove and need to clean it. So I don't pour, I ladle. When your sieve or pot gets full, dump the solids back into the stock pot. Don't discard them yet. There is a ton of gelatin on them. Continue ladling into a medium container and pour whatever fits into the 4-quart pot. Pour in a couple of cups of water over the chicken to wash all the leftover stock that's clinging to it. Cover the pot with a lid that's slightly open and pour whatever comes out through the sieve. This stock is a lot weaker but still useful. What to do with the chicken is up to you. I think it's too dry to be edible, so I toss it. Normally, I would cool this stock to room temperature, put it in the fridge, degrease it the next day, and then boil it down. But recently, I realized that it's completely inefficient. This pot takes forever to cool off and then to heat back up, and it takes a lot of room in the fridge. So let's do a quick and dirty degreasing and boil it down while it's still hot. Let the stock sit for 5 minutes so that the fat floats to the top, and remove it with a ladle. Don't worry if some stock sneaks into the ladle. We are not trashing it. It's all going into our overflow cup. It will all be useful, both the fat and the stock. Turn up the heat and bring the stock to a rolling boil. Now that all the solids are out, we don't need to worry about the stock turning muddy and can boil the heck out of it on high heat. Given the pot size and the intensity of my burners, I don't pay attention for the first hour. After that, I start checking every 15 minutes and eventually every 5 minutes as I get very close. With a straight-sided pot, it's very easy to judge how much your stock is reduced. I started with about 4 inches of stock. Once I'm at about 1¼ inches, I'll stop. Precision is not important here. We just want to evaporate enough water so that the stock is small, quick to cool, compact enough to store, fast to defrost, and easy to use in pan sauces. Here we go. We are just over an inch. Let's cool it until warm and pour into 4 containers, each one holding about 1 cup. Don't wash the pot just yet. Remember that overflow stock container? While my stock was reducing, I cooled it in the fridge to get the fat a bit more viscous. I'll degrease it and use it to pick up all the side fond from my pot. By the way, degreasing at this stage is completely optional. You can dump it in the pot, pick up all the fond, pour it back into your container, and degrease after chilling. The fat can be used for roasting veggies, so don't throw it away. Pour the stock into the pot, set it over heat to warm up, and tilt the pot so that the stock picks up some of those delicious brown bits. Help it out with a flat spoon. The stock will be on the weaker side because most of it is the water that we poured over the bones in the end, but it's still excellent in soups, and if you reduce it enough, it can be used in the pan sauces too. I don't bother reducing this tiny amount and just store it in my fridge as is to use over the next week. Put your containers with reduced stock in the fridge, uncovered, and cool completely. Then cover, label, and freeze. Because they contain so much gelatin, they are not nearly as hard as frozen water after freezing. When the time comes to make a pan sauce, there is no need to plan ahead and defrost them. Just get one of the jars out 15 minutes before you need it. Turn it out onto a cutting board and cut into quarters. Just maybe don't use your favorite chef's knife for this task. To deglaze a 10-inch pan, you'll need 1 quarter. To deglaze a 12-inch pan, you'll need 2 quarters. As you've seen from this video, stocks take a lot of time, effort, and dishes. Is there some store-bought stock that could come close to the homemade? Until recently, I thought the answer was no. But about a month ago, I found a product that could be life-changing for people who don't have time for homemade stock. How does the quality and the cost compare to the real deal? I'll tell you next week. Most people leave me comments without watching the whole video. But for those wonderful, patient souls who watched this far, I want to let you know that your stock question was probably answered in this video right here.